Hello, today in this video we'll do a grammar lesson of stage 1. So I suggest that you watch the first video, if you're a complete beginner of course, in Latin and English, then read it to yourself, then read it out loud, even if you do it under your breath, that's fine, don't worry about your pronunciation, and then perhaps listen to it again, the story again in Latin. So by that time you should be very familiar with the story and should have a good idea of what the sentences mean. If you don't, I'll post an English translation of the story, so you'll be able to figure out what the story means with the translation. So let's look at this text. So welcome to Latin. You can see the word order is a bit strange compared with English. Caecilius in ordo in the garden sedit, sits. We don't say Caecilius in the garden sits in English. Sounds a bit strange, but Latin can sometimes change the word order, or at least put the words in a different order to what we're used to in English. We'll look at some of the types of words called parts of speech. Parts of speech. So we have nouns, they're the naming words. We have verbs, they're like the core of the sentence. Sometimes they're action words, sometimes they're called state words. I think they're called state verbs. They're like is, are. But they're like the most important word in the sentence. That's what gives the, I think, without the verb you don't have the feel of a sentence. And we also have prepositions. I'll get to prepositions later. I'll start with nouns. So there are naming words. So we've got the names of people, Caecilius. We have a location, ordo. Here we have a long vowel, unlike Caecilius, which has a short vowel at the end of the word. Sorvus, this is a servant, slave, I should say. Atrio, location. Metella, this is a person. Quintus, person. Tablino, it's a place. Cerberus, that's a dog. Via, that's a place. So notice that some of these nouns have short vowels in the final syllable, and some of them have long vowels, like ordo. So let's have a look at the short ones. We have Caecilius. I'm not even sure how to spell it. Caecilius. Caecilius. We have Metella. Short vowels, and we have nouns ending in long vowels. So we have ordo, atrio, also we have sorvus. Oops, the wrong one. Via. So all of these long vowels, all of these nouns with long vowels at the end, they come after the preposition in. That's the preposition. In ordo, in atrio, in via. We call these nouns with long vowels the ablative nouns. So this gives locational information in the garden, in the atrium, in the street. The ablative doesn't always have long vowels at the end, but quite often it does. The nouns with short vowels at the end, Caecilius, Metella, Servus, these are nominative. These are like the dictionary forms of the nouns, the default forms. So now when we go to the story, it doesn't say. So in future lessons, we'll get information saying that this is a nominative noun. And ordo, it should tell us that this is an ablative noun. So we use the ablative nouns often for location. Not always, but sometimes. Often after the preposition in atrio, in the atrium, in tablino, in mensa. This is on the table, not in the table, but Latin uses the word in here. In mensa. So now we've seen nominative nouns. That's like the normal form of the noun, which you find in the dictionary, and ablative nouns. Here they've been used to show the location in ordo, and they have a long vowel at the end. So those are our ablative nouns. So the ablative nouns are often preceded by a word called a preposition. It's called a preposition because it's a word we put before another word, usually generally a noun. So the preposition triggers a change in the form of the noun so that it gets a long vowel, or the ending changes. This is quite important. The endings of the words give us information about what the word is doing in the sentence. As you can see, the word has an ending and it has a stem. The stem is the part that generally doesn't change, and the ending is the part that does change depending on how it's being used. So for servus, sor is the stem, us is the ending, sometimes called a termination. Now the last type of word we're going to look at are verbs. So here we have est, is, sedet, sits, est, laborat, works, est, sedet. Now the location of the verb in these sentences is often at the end, unlike in English, which is often in the middle. We would say Caecilius sits in the garden in English, but in Latin, Caecilius in ordo sedet. Caecilius in the garden sits. But the word order isn't always fixed. Here we have the verb or est, sometimes it comes in the middle. Servus est in atrio. It doesn't have to be in the middle. You can often see it at the end, but here it's in the middle. So for the words that are not est, they're often coming at the end, though this doesn't always have to be the case. So we'll make a note that the word order is often looser. So this is probably all the grammatical information we need for the first lesson. So to recap, we've got 3 parts of speech. These perform different functions in the sentence. Nouns, which are the naming words. Verbs, which sometimes can represent action, but I would think of them like the engine of the sentence. They're the core of the sentence. the important part. Prepositions, which we often put before nouns, hence their name. So if we look at the nouns, we've got ones that end in end in a syllable with a short vowel, and ones that end in a syllable with a long vowel. And here, all the ones with the short vowels are in the nominative case, which is the case we find. These are cases, sorry, I should say. That's the form we find in the dictionary. Usually, the first. It's the sort of the heading it comes under. The word comes under. And this is a variation called the ablative case. The in, when it's paired with in, it comes after the word. The vowel is long. This is the ablative form. And here it's been used to show location. So where the sentence is, it gives information about the location of what's happening in the sentence. That's all. So not very hard, but this grammar should be useful later on. Thanks for watching.